Ladies and gentlemen, today is a very special one. You guys have seen Leon Wills. You guys have seen BJ Flores. Those are two head coaches in the game, and they are head coaches of some of, the bigger YouTubers in the platform. And now today we have one of the biggest YouTubers on the platform itself, one of the guys that is the OG in this fighting game, not a coach, not a corner man, a fighter himself, and a sensei. Ladies and gentlemen, today I have FaZe Sensei in the building. Sensei, how are you doing, my man?
Great. What an intro, man.
Listen.
Beautiful intro.
Appreciate that,
good.
brother. I appreciate
solid.
that.
I'm hyped now. I'm hyped.
So, like I said, I've had coaches in here, man. I've had, two of the I guess, highest level of YouTube boxers that I've, been in contact with. Now I'm in the presence of a great one. I'm in the presence of an OG. And man, I've been wanting to do this for a while, so I appreciate you coming on. I wanted to start with that word, sensei. It's your calling card. It's your name here on YouTube, and not only that, it's what you are. You are an actual sensei, and I want to know how you got into the martial arts. Where did this all start for you? And I guess that's the easiest way to start this interview is what got you into all this, man? Where's the sensei started?
Well, I was born into it. So my dad is my head instructor. He's had a dojo since '85. I was born in '91, so since before I was born. So I've been in the dojo my whole life and started teaching at a very young age, helping out classes, doing things like that. And then once I graduated high school, I wanted to do it full time. I took over my own school because we have two schools. So I started with one with my dad, and I've been doing that ever since. And that's actually how I got into. I might as well segue in there now. How I got into FaZe. Oh, you're nasty at video games? I'm like, I'm pretty good. I can beat you like in 2K in like sports games. But FaZe Temper, founder of FaZe Clan, an upcoming fighter actually, he was my student as a young adult. Who graduated high school, and he just came into the dojo. First 6 months, 8 months, I had no idea what FaZe Clan was. He was just my student. He was this instructor student. Then I moved closer to him in the same apartment complex as him. We started hanging out, becoming friends. I went over his place a few times, beat him up in 2K pretty bad, and then he introduced me into FaZe Clan in terms of Call of Duty, and that was early on in FaZe Clan's life. And they decided to start a YouTube house in New York and Long Island, and they started the first big YouTube house. And he was like, "You want to come with us?" And I was like, Let me talk to my dad, but yes. It was funny because if they went to LA first, I probably never would have went. So I did that for a year, started my channel. I decided to call up Calvin Cater, who is currently a UFC fighter. I hit him up and said, because he runs a local promotion, and I said, I want to do a fight, like an amateur MMA fight for my YouTube channel. Just some crazy thing because I need to get my channel going. Hopefully this is my last chance to make it work. And then we set it up, and I said the only stipulation is I want the rights to the footage because I know he records the fights. He said yes, so I was like, oh, this is gonna be a banger. And then I invited all my YouTube guys, all my friends. I said, and I hit them up and said, oh, actually, I asked them first, if I decide to do an MMA fight, an actual one, will you guys show up and vlog it and record?
Right.
And they said yes. So I called them right away. I said, I'm doing this because this is going to be huge if I do well. So, fast forward, I knocked the kid out in a couple minutes. It was a crazy back and forth fight. And then I gained 100 subs overnight. It was crazy. It's 24 hours. I had over 100,000. I gained over 100,000 subscribers.
Oh, you gained over 100,000 subs in one night. Holy
overnight.
Cow.
Yeah, because they all I had a bunch of my guys vlog it.
Just the the FaZe reach, man.
Yeah, they just uploaded.
The way it came about is insane, man. Like you just doing your job, teaching in your dojo, doing what you love, and that's the way life happens, man. It's wild. That's how kind of this YouTube channel started for me, man. I was doing this. I was on this channel for 3 years, and this is kind of the same story. I was on this channel for 3 years doing live streams of UFC events for 8 hours at a time, doing rebroadcasts. I would try to be a commentator over it.
Okay.
I was on 300 subs for 3 years on this channel.
Wow.
Yes, every weekend,
so
8-hour live stream.
Nowhere, bro. I was like, I saw your videos Wade came out of nowhere. Nope. People don't know about the grind, bro.
They
People
don't,
know
man.
about
They
it.
don't.
They don't.
But it taught me a lot, and I think this is an easy kind of a segue for you. It taught you a lot in the YouTube game. Just being around the FaZe guys and just being in that environment. Obviously, not something that you were really up to at the time. Same with me. When I
No.
first started YouTube, I'd never done anything like this. So what in that time when you were introduced to FaZe and you started hanging out with all these guys, what did it mean to transition from just, doing the things that you like, the dojo, being a part of that, earning your black belt, doing all that, and then this whole new thing of life just comes and kind of hits you right in the face? How do you adjust that? And what did it mean to be a part of FaZe?
When Tommy came around and then FaZe Clan, I learned about their reach and how big it was, and I knew their fan base, is a bunch of Call of Duty kids. So in my mind, literally, I was like, okay, these are the kids that I try to protect my students from. Literally, okay, these are like literally, and I'm like, these are the kids that I need to reach to, because most of the time I'm working with my students, I'm speaking to the choir.
Right.
I do after school programs or assemblies, or I work with kids over the years. I'm like, these are the kids I want to reach.
I really like that you were talking about, you're in Temper's relationship and being in there in the house. You talked about Temper's Taekwondo background. I wanted to ask you, out of everybody in FaZe, outside of yourself, of course, because goated, who has the best, acumen for martial arts, for fighting? If you had to pick, is it Temper?
Yeah, it's Temper, and it's a little unfair because he was training before the Long Island house, so he did Taekwondo, but he was also training with me. Mm-hmm. And then so when we were at the house, we would train. I'd hold pads. We'd go to a local MMA gym here and there and train. So. And he's always been into it. Even when he moved out, he's been doing jiu-jitsu now for a couple of years. So he's always been into, martial arts training even before me. So it's always been something that he's been passionate about. So
we're hearing that Temper might be having a fight soon. Is this news you can confirm, or?
Yeah, no, he's been public about it. He's been trying to secure a fight for a little while now. This whole influencer boxing thing has been crazy in the last few years. So I always thought he had a lot of potential, especially because you're talking about most influencers don't know how to box. So
right.
Temper was one of the guys that had a background, so mm-hmm. he's perfect for it. But for Tommy, I would really I was talking to him last time. He was out here a couple months ago. If you're gonna have a fight, you need to be in a boxing gym. You got that's it. You got to live, eat, and breathe that 100%. Stuff. You need a boxing coach. You can't have somebody else like me. Yeah. I'm I wouldn't even want to train you. I wouldn't want to train you. I'll help you out here and there for things that I know. But if you're going to be boxing, you need to be in a boxing gym.
Influencer boxing is not a sideshow anymore. If you're going to do it, and it's boxing in general, right? You need to be prepared when you go in there and you're boxing in a high level contact sport. You need to be prepared, but we're at this level now where you can't take anyone lightly. We move from that to you having your first fight, and even before that, you working with guys like KSI and Gib. And speaking of being in a boxing gym solely, you got to go into their camp. Talk to me a little bit about what their fight camps look like, how seriously they were taking those things, and how they were run compared to things you'd seen before.
Yeah, that was a wild time. So out of nowhere, I get a DM on Twitter from KSI. And I'm just like, well, what? I never talked to him before. He's like, hey, man, just want to let you know I watch your videos, and I saw your first fight, your MMA fight, the one that blew me up.
The big one, yeah, that's crazy.
The big one, and he was like, that was sick. I just want to say I have a fight coming up, as if I didn't know. That's when he was going to fight Joe Weller, and he was like, and he just said, man, keep it up, it's dope, it's cool. I like watching your stuff, it helps me out. So I was like, man, I appreciate it. So if you ever want to train, you let me know. Literally. I will come out and we can work out and stuff. He's like, yeah, cool. Just shoot me some dates. I was like, so if I can come out there, if I can go to you. He's like, oh, if you can come to me, obviously. So 2 seconds later, I was like, January 21st to the 28th. And he was like, yeah, sure. And I was like, 5 days. I was like, you could stay at the Sideman house.
That's great.
We'll take care of you. So I booked it that day, literally 2 seconds later. So we connected right away. It was great, and then, we had some days where we went with Vidal. We went down with Vidal he was doing mid work, and then I was like, we can spar, and I knew he was raw at the time, so I was like, I'm gonna go down there, I'm gonna push, I'm gonna try to push him. I'll do whatever Vidal says. Vidal, what do you want me to do? I'll do my best to do it, and we'll hold some pads and we'll go over stuff. So we spent the next couple of days just going over his sparring footage and his stuff, and me trying to give him feedback. Mm-hmm. And then when we sparred, that was our first sparring. I just pushed him, and he was obviously raw, just throwing punches, and I just tried to bully him a little bit and try to pressure him. His cardio was good. I noticed that right off the bat. I wasn't in training for anything. I was just literally
Just
I'll come down and train
out
with
there,
you.
yeah.
Yeah, there was no boxing or something to look forward to, so I'll just go out there and work with him. I noticed his cardio was good and he was super tough. I hit him with a bunch of body shots. Those always challenge you. You know, if you get a good liver shot, we'll see what you're made of. And he got right back up after one, and that was like, we still had a couple rounds left, and I did it again. He stood back up, and he's swinging for the fences. You know, last round he's going nuts. So yeah, that was a great spar. And Vidal that was the day they said, oh, we know that KSI is a fighter, because he had someone in front of him who wasn't just gonna like absolutely destroy him, because I'm not like a super high level pro, but someone who can hurt him, but someone, you know, we'll see if he's gonna fight back.
So, you know, you go in there and you have that first spar, and then the second one you see already he's getting better, and then we go to this one in the what was it, the Logan Paul 2 fight, peak KSI, right before he's having this fight. Talk to me about that spar, because everybody's seen that one, right? That we've all seen this at this point.
That was like, you know, one of the biggest ones. Obviously, it's the most recent one.
Yeah.
So it's funny because everyone, you know, the rib thing is a big talk about.
I wanted to talk about that, but I'll let you explain.
I play semi-pro football, so I play, and that was the first year I started playing semi-pro football. I played quarterback for a local team. So I had a playoff game, and I ended up like cracking a rib, like on a throw, just like try to step in a throw, dude, just clean hit on my ribs. So that was the playoff game. Most of the season ended. We lost that game. Season ended, and then. You know, probably like a month and a half, you know, the opportunity to spar KSI came up. Now, I didn't do any sparring going into like the KSI thing. I mean, the thing is,
that fool was an animal ready to eat, and you just walked in like, all right, man, what are we doing today?
You know, and it's funny because I'm like, when these opportunities come up, you know, KSI has always been so big for me. So you know, in terms of a help, I'm not someone that's like, I need to make sure I'm prepared. I wasn't not going to do it.
Right.
Because if I felt like I wasn't at my best, because I'm not going to look great or whatever, because it's a spar with someone who, in my mind, who's on my team or I'm on his team.
Yeah, exactly. You're there. Right. And that's another thing that, you know, I'll let you finish your story, but that's another thing I want to really, you know, get across to people is that you were there to help. You're not there to you know, go in and knock this dude dead in the middle of his camp.
With him either.
And that's just not like, I don't think people realize when they're talking about, oh, you know, KSI did. And I'm like, yes, KSI performed well in a spar with FaZe Sensei, but also FaZe was there to help him. And FaZe is not, you know, he's not there to do what you guys think he's there to do. It's not a fight.
Yeah.
This is a spar. Completely different.
No, it was, definitely. And, like, remember my coach, he was, Coach Tang, he's always there. He always goes, like, when we travel and stuff, and he was like, you shouldn't do this. He's like, I don't think you should do this. He was like, I was like, well, we're going to, I'm like, and I had no idea how my rib was going to hold up.
Right.
And I wasn't really thinking about it. And I thought I was going to hurt.
Yeah.
Whatever. Oh boy. So we start, and the biggest thing I noticed though, see, the thing is that I don't want to take away from KSI, because when you look at the spar, the difference, regardless of the rib, he was a completely different fighter. He was pressuring. If you look at our other spars, I was the one pressuring.
Yeah.
He was the one backing up. He was on his back foot trying to stay on the outside. He spent the whole time trying to get on the inside. He was firing jabs to the body, to the head. He was trying to roll shots and throw counter punches over the top, things that he never did before.
Yeah.
So completely transformed in terms of the spar, like stylistically. A lot stronger. His punches were a lot tighter. So with me sparring him, he's just a lot better.
Yeah.
You know, and he's not afraid. He's not like worried about shots this time. But he started jabbing me to the body, and I try to just go Philly shell, if you notice. And I do Philly shell sometimes, but it's not like, I'm not a boxer like that, so I usually just use like a regular guard, use my footwork. So I had to go Philly shell because my left hand, I'm keeping it on my body. It was so funny. He punches my arm a couple times, and like into my rib, and I'm like my whole body, like alarms.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no, this is gonna be rough. So I start like shallow breathing, and it was so funny. I hear Vidal.
Yeah.
He goes, we don't like those shots to the body. Go to the body. And in my head, I'm like, oh no, dude, like, this is gonna be bad.
Yeah, man. I remember in that video, Vidal's like, said one of the funniest things I've ever heard somebody say. Because you guys are cool, right? He knows you. You guys are super tight.
Yeah.
But in that setting, you know what I mean? He's there to compete, and so is KSI.
No, he's fighting Logan Paul, dude.
Yeah.
Round 2.
Yeah.
Like, he's got to. I told him too before I hit JJ. I said, bro, this spar, like you're in peak camp, you gotta try to take me out.
Yeah,
like, you
let
gotta
me
go
have
hard.
it. 100%.
Let's do it. You know.
I think that was the first big video I had on my channel was watching you guys spar, and you actually reached out on the comments, dude. I was in this room. I was out here freaking out because you reached out. I was like, oh my God, it's Sensei. I went crazy, but I remember specifically a lot of the things from that video because, like I said, it was one of my first big videos, and KSI. It was my first introduction to watching KSI in a setting where he looked a little bit more technical than I had seen him, and I was like, oh man, there's something there. He just can't figure out a way under the lights to transition it. And I wanted to ask you, from what you've seen of him in camp, what is the difference in what he sees on, or what we see on fight night versus what he's doing in camp?
Well, when it comes to like fight night, a lot of people like martial artists even, you try to calm the nerves and be smart, and you still try to fight your fight, right? Technically sound, whatever. But it's tricky because I don't think JJ would typically fight like this. How wild he is. I think what's really like been underestimated, has been underrated, is that he's fighting Logan Paul. And one of the hardest things to do especially as a boxer is when you were the smaller fighter, when you have to learn to get inside. It's a whole different game that guys who are taller never have to learn.
You never have to learn, right?
Yeah. Literally, you never have to deal with that, and that's one of the hardest things to deal with. We're talking about bridging the gap, when that gap that you got to bridge and you got to work your way in and take shots and stuff. And like me and JJ are a similar size, so when people talking about his punches were tighter, I'm like, yeah, but JJ has a longer reach than me. So when I have to find my way in. So you saw a lot cleaner boxing from him, and he can land his shots without having to take as big as steps, right? You don't have to cover that much ground.
I wanted to ask you, since we talked a lot about KSI, your time in there with him and seeing what he brought to the table, legitimately showed you the difference in the first, the second, and the third time, the growth he possessed, and just that killer instinct that he had. And you're like, hold on, this guy's for real all of a sudden. Yeah. Talk to me about the differences sparring a guy like him and another guy in the UK sparring a guy like Gib. What are the differences there? Oh my gosh.
That's so funny. I freaking love Gib. I remember I met Gib a couple times. Yeah. And you can see his fighting style. And similar, that was no injuries. But in terms of like, I didn't have any fights coming up. Yep. So super chill, laid back.
And this was Jake? Is this the Jake camp?
Yes, this is the Jake camp. Okay. So, and then my coach is like, if you do take this, if you go spar, this is the last time we're doing this because you keep showing up.
Dude, Coach Tang is so upset. He's like, dude, I'm done with this. Every time this guy wants to go spar.
I'm like, well, Coach, if you're not coming, I'm going by myself. So what are we doing here? Because I'm 100% going to this. Yeah. There's no way I'm saying no. But the difference was I knew, obviously I had no injuries, but I knew that, I didn't have to worry about the power that KSI has, right? So I knew I could, and I'm like, I'll be able to hang out, I'm not going to get hurt during the sparring match, I'm just going to, I may look bad at times, towards the end, but whatever. So he comes right out, freaking like a bull, his head right into my chin, and I'm like, oh, here we go. I'm on this thing, and he wouldn't get off of me. So I started landing a couple shots. That was the one thing that I was concerned about that we talked about after, but was he was coming in without doing anything, and you can hear Leon saying, you can't walk into stuff because with giant headgear and 16-ounce gloves, I can crack you with a cross or like a jab. But if you walk into that, there was some shots I knew he was walking into. I'm like, you don't want to be touched because when you walk into it, it's a lot different when it's a collision. Yep. Then rolling shots and stuff like that. So we're going back and forth, and then I think it's second round. I'm like, the second, third, right before the third round, I'm like, I am feeling it. Yeah. So I'm just like, I'm just going to hang out here because I knew I could hang out there. So I'm just going to hang out. We're just going to throw punches back and forth. I'm going to try to catch my breath. I knew I could I'm going to find my moments in a couple of the rounds to make the video good. And then I'm going to get out of the round. So that was my plan. Smart. Third round comes in. We counted. He threw 122 punches in the third goddamn round.
That's crazy, bro.
So third round, he's going crazy. And there was the best moment of the entire thing. And I wanted you. This is the one that I wanted you to react to.
I think I did, and I want to say I actually watched it, or I was supposed to, and a video corrupted or something, and I never got to it. So I might go back and actually take a look at this. So dude, I want to see what you're talking about here.
Yeah, because there was a moment where I think it might have been the third, maybe fourth round, where I'm like, got nothing in the tank. Yeah. So I'm like trying to clinch. I'm hanging out against the ropes, and Gib is just like head of my chest, throwing hooks in the body, throwing everything he got. And I'm just covering. And I hear Vidal clapping and cheering. And Leon's like, yeah, pour it on him. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. You can see on the camera, I start laughing. So I'm laughing at one point because I'm like, this is just ridiculous. I'm in the corner. I hear Leon and Vidal in my ear talking smack. And I'm covering. I'm shelling up.
Yeah.
And I'm just catching my breath. And I kind of like was laughing because I know like I'm going to have my turn in just 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting. And then all of a sudden I just lay off like a 5-punch combination. Pretty hard on them. And then they got quiet after that. But
shocked him. Yeah, 100%.
And then we're right back to the same thing though. Then we're right back. I did my thing. And then I'm back to being on my bike and running around and trying to clinch for the rest of the round.
Well, that's Gib, man. That's Gib.
I will say this. Gib's transformation to me is probably the most impressive. It's between him and JJ because I remember meeting Gib early on. KSI could always like swing hard. He was a strong kid, right? Big strong kid, and regardless, he wasn't like a super athlete, but he was already strong. Like Gib didn't have like, if you asked him to punch as hard as he can, he didn't have any power, speed either, right? So he had none of those things. So we're talking somebody that like shouldn't get into boxing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't really have any of the attributes, any of the natural things, the natural intangibles that go into boxing. But he had, like, the mentality for it and the toughness for it. But that's why, for me, I'm like, man, if Gib gets faster and he learns how to hit hard, he's going to be a scary kid, a problem, because he has everything else.
I did come across a video recently where there was a demand put out there. And I don't know if you guys saw this, but Sensei, I shouldn't say a demand, more of an inquiry. Sensei is very close to 1 million subscribers. Very, very close.
Yes.
And once we hit that point, the deal was made that you would be getting back in.
Okay, so if I'm gonna fight again, I am gonna like stop everything, and I'm gonna have to. So I'm gonna do it very seriously. And even sparring, I said, if I'm gonna spar again, I've done enough just like winging it. I've done that enough. It's been good. It's been a good run. It's been fun, but I can't take it anymore. So that's been where I've been at, and I was like, I owe it to myself that if I'm going to fight again, I'm going to do 110%, and I'm going to wait for the right opportunity instead of just taking anything.
Okay.
Because I did that, so that's why I'm like I've taken some time off, and then fortunately this YouTube stuff is just only getting bigger in terms of the boxing.
Seems like it.
So I was like, I'm listening to all of this stuff. I've been, I've been in talks with stuff. I've been listening to people's, potential opponents and things like that, and haven't taken anything yet. I'm taking my time on this one.
Should, man. I think you should. I think just like you were talking about with Temper and anybody else at your level, man, I think that there's a lot of things that you have to consider when, weighing these options, right? You are, a higher level guy. You are someone that commands an audience. So when we're talking about potential opponents, when we're talking about names being thrown out there, obviously, the question I got to ask, who do you think would be somebody you could see yourself in there with?
Man, it's tough. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of guys. Obviously, there's like the Josh Bruckner thing.
I think that's a fun fight, man.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, it dropped off, and then there was like a little bit of an issue between me and him because obviously with my rib, I literally couldn't train, obviously, and it was like, you dropping out. And I was like, listen, I remember me and him go back and forth, and even his coach, because it was like,
oh, they thought you just were like ducking the fight.
I know. I was like, Josh, I'm the one who, Liam, the manager, KSI's manager, was like, we need to find you an opponent. So I was researching. I found Josh. I was like, okay, I got a guy who fits the bill, right? So it was me. It wasn't like they found.
You reached out to them.
Correct. I said, this is a guy.
Yeah.
Right. So I handpicked him, and I knew it was gonna be a tough fight. I'm like, but I can't pick. There was like nobody else. But then that died down. It's been a while, and for me, like, I don't. I've had some people. I can't say names, but there's been people that they've been asking me to fight, and one of the things that I realized has been an issue is that I am. This is hilarious to say. I've said it before, but I'm probably the most overrated fighter on planet Earth.
You said overrated?
Okay. Overrated. Which means, like, when we're overrated is that people, I see comments like, you should fight Conor McGregor, you should be in the UFC.
Oh,
I'm like, guys,
I see.
You know what I'm saying? So, obviously, and that's like that with a lot of the influencers in terms of fighters, So, what happens is, the names that they're throwing out there, at times, I'm like, whoa.
Hold on a second, yeah.
And the other thing I don't think people realize is, like, Jake has been training for like 2 years as a professional fighter. You got to stop thinking of Jake Paul as Jake Paul.
Yeah.
You got to look at him as someone who's been training boxing.
Yeah.
for a couple years like a professional, not like an amateur kid who's like working and going after after work and finding his ways and is trying to work his way up the ranks.
Right.
I'm talking about a dude who's been trained like a professional and who can say, okay, I'm going to take away 6 months for a camp. I don't care that much to be able to do that right now unless a really big opportunity came and I loved every piece of it. And I was like, okay, I need to figure out what I need to do with the dojo and this. Like, I would have to change a lot about my life in order to commit to something.
I want to talk about just shortly, like, what do you think of Jake, man? And how do you see, where this ride either ends for him or where it goes from where we're at right now? What do you think of him?
Well, it's getting scary right now for him because
T-Wood can't go backward now, right? That's the hard part.
You can't. I mean, you could. It doesn't mean it'll be great. I mean, you looked at like Vitor and Evander.
Right.
It could be ugly. He could go backwards, but man, he's been so fortunate. I think because of the position he's in, he's always been the A side. Like he's never had to do what JJ did with Logan. He's never had to overcome something crazy. Woodley was probably the biggest one. I was
gonna say Tyron was a big fight,
but it was the potential of Woodley.
Yeah.
Not so much the way Woodley fought. You look at he fought Deji, who he had the upper hand. Deji put up a good fight, he beat him. And then he fought like Nate Robinson, right? A guy who doesn't know how to fight. And then he fought Gibb, who we thought that was going to be a reasonable match, but also like Gibb had to eat as much as he can just to make weight.
Yeah, he had to come up. Yeah.
So you're talking again, not really a true opponent, like in terms of like he
same
had to come
size, same weight class. Right. Yeah.
It's smaller. So
yeah.
Jake has reach, size, strength, power. Yeah. You're talking about Jake has the advantage, right? No real disadvantages. And then Ben Askren. So
bro,
like,
hey, I'm never gonna live down the Ben Askren fight. I like try to never bring it up anymore. Like I was riding for Ben Askren. I'm talking.
Me too,
dude. I know. Man. We were both on.
Oh shoot!
I was like, this is how it's gonna happen. He's gonna come out and bro. To this day, I did a video it'll be nothing to do with Jake Paul, which I know is rare on this channel, but I did a video and people were like, isn't this the guy that picked Ben Askren? Yeah. Like a year later, isn't this the guy?
Well, I didn't think he was just gonna stand there and take shots,
I thought maybe we'll get a little something, but no.
Yeah, so then that happened,
yeah.
Right? And then you got Woodley.
Yeah.
Okay. And it was so frustrating to watch because there was so many opportunities.
Yeah.
For Woodley, like ridiculous amount of opportunities where I'm like, could you just throw good combination?
Just throw something, yeah.
All you need to do is throw one combination.
Yeah.
He does a lot of, and a lot of MMA guys do that. They, single direct attacks. 1, 1, 2, circle out, 1, 1, 2.
Different game, out. Man. Different game.
So they're not bridging the gap.
Yeah.
And if Woodley just threw a combination, hung in there, and then threw a combination,
yeah,
to me it would have been over because Jake has he's still so raw. So when he throws his power shots, he throws and exits.
Yep.
He just throws and exits. He stops boxing, right? So when he's looking for big shots, he'll throw his big shot and then he's done boxing for that moment. He's trying to exit out of there.
Yeah.
Right. He doesn't continue to box, which is hard. That's something that you got to learn over time.
Exactly.
You got to develop. Right. So it's not that he's bad, but that's just hard to develop. So I thought, Woodley's just gonna
capitalize. Yeah.
He's going to use his footwork and then just get in there and throw a couple combinations. And Jake's not going to be able to handle a combination because he doesn't look ready to handle combinations a lot because he's still new. If you get like a boxer who's in there, who gets nose to nose with you,
yeah,
and you put together an 8-second sequence,
just phone booth,
Jake's going to lose that sequence. So I think that's what KSI sees. I think JJ watches it and he's like, dude, I want to stay on him.
Do you think we're ever going to get that KSI and Jake fight?
I think so. Yeah. I really think so. I think JJ is real when he says that he really wants it to make it happen because it's super personal for him. But I think people forget that he called out Jake first.
Yeah,
he called out Logan and Jake. It was supposed to be him
supposed
and Jake.
to have been Jake, right.
And Jake was like, let's make it an MMA fight because boxing is not a real fight, So he's like, okay. And then he ended up having to fight Logan, which was never the plan.
Right.
So
I think KSI is going to have to. He's going to have to go and get some. I mean, obviously he's going to have to train, but he's going to have to go and get, I think, a couple of wins. I don't know if you heard my 100%. Leon podcast. I thought he had a great idea. Was going and doing it off camera or doing it, away from the camera and going down and having a couple fights in a couple weeks, going in like 2 or 3 months at a time, take 3 or 4 fights and really get JJ back into things.
Some real smokers is what he should do.
Yeah.
Some real fights, doesn't have to be in front of the cameras, right? He 100% needs to do that.
Yeah.
100%, in my opinion, to do that. But I think it does happen. KSI with COVID and then with his music
stuff, yep.
He's someone that's like, he's not going to drop the music. He's not going to do both.
Right.
He knows how serious the Jake thing is. He's not going to do both. He's going to do 110%. And I really feel like he knows that he's the A side. He's like, listen, dude, I don't got to do it now because you're asking me. Because when I first came to you,
right,
you gave me the runaround. So I think when people say like KSI is ducking, I think he wants to wait just to piss off Jake too. I think he wants to delay it.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it on my time when I want.
Yeah.
And I think people think that he's just trying to. Why don't you just take the fight anytime, anywhere?
Right.
JJ doesn't have to do that. So doesn't make a lot of sense.
He is kind of the cream of the crop. He is the king of YouTube boxing, and really he's not even in the YouTube boxing scene anymore. He's surpassed it, right? KSI is up there. I think you're up there. I think Logan's up there. Who do you see, maybe outside of those people, outside of the big 4 or 5, who do you see in this scene that could really make a run at this? Is there anybody, maybe your boy FaZe Jarvis, I don't know, but is there anybody you see right now that either is just starting this or is not necessarily as well known that can actually make a run and be that next good YouTube boxer?
Well, I thought the next guy who could be serious was Austin McBroom.
Yeah.
He was someone that was, switching stances.
Didn't look bad. I'll give Austin his credit. He did not look bad.
He also fought pretty well. He fought Bryce Hall, but he did fight pretty well in terms of his skill. He showed a lot of potential. But I do think Adam and Slim, those 2 guys have some real potential. I think Adam, he gets so much slack because of like JJ just rips at him and then the whole JJ fan base. And obviously his personality, he's had a bunch of controversy with his, his pranks in the past. Because he's got skill.
He can fight.
Out of all the guys, he's someone that should be in that. He's not like a slouch.
No,
and he's smaller, so he's someone that can fight like.
And that's why it's so confusing to me. Like, why do it? Why, if this is what happened, why even put that out there? Just go and fight. You're good.
Right.
You can box.
No, he's good.
And I said the same thing about Slim
shows potential too.
Yeah.
If Slim can fight someone who's real.
Yeah.
I think both of them could do it.
And that's not and people don't like hearing that, by the way. Like, people don't like hearing that Slim and Adam can actually fight. And not that they're like world beaters.
I know.
And people like to take the piss a bit, but they can box.
But in the scene, if you look at the last event, like the TikTokers and YouTubers,
they would have done well on that event.
They would have done very well.
I wanted to ask you about, like you said, the dojo's a family business, right? And we'll get you out of here on this one, but I don't think people, like I said, it's hard to understand what goes on behind the camera or when you're not on camera. You grew up in this family of martial arts. I saw a video and I was just doing some research before we did this podcast. I saw a video of you and your dad grappling. I don't know if it was in your living room or where it was.
Oh yeah.
And it was just an old video of you, right?
Super old
video. I was going back through the thing because I was like, man, I remember.
Like it was like vertical, right?
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
phone?
you had the
yeah.
And I was like, I remember Sensei talking about how he got into it vaguely, and it was through his family. And I know you have some brothers that are also, into to I think a lesser degree, but have also trained, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, no, my older brother is a degree higher than me, and he runs his own school.
Okay, so yes, you do have family that's also, it's just like you said, a family business. Now, what I think a lot of us here on YouTube can say is, while you were brought into this as a family business, and I'm sure your dad is your first sensei, or he is in some way taught you. I think a lot of the people on YouTube are really living this martial arts journey through you. I think you've been, and the channel name itself speaks for it. You have been our sensei. So while we're on camera and the YouTube is what it is, you have your own students that are personal to you specifically. But I just wanted to say, on behalf of all of us, man, the journey from you being taught by your dad, you've basically been the sensei for millions of people, and I think we all want to make sure that we thank you for just the years of content, years of being here, and like I said, I don't even know if FaZe would be the same without you. So that's why I was so excited to have this interview today, man. I appreciate you coming on with me. I think it's been amazing, and like I said, man, I don't think this is even the beginning of your journey, of the journey of this YouTube influencer space. But outside of that, man, I think that a lot of people would be in different spots, and I'm sure you could attest to this without FaZe Sensei. So thank you.
Hey man, I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, I appreciate
that's
the
the
time.
goal. That's what I love for YouTube. It's just for me, just the content creation and sharing what I do. That's my favorite part.
Yeah.
About creating and doing the content, be able to share what I do on a day-to-day basis, but like on a bigger scale.
Yeah.
And inspire people. That whole thing is just my favorite part. It's the best part. I'm gonna keep doing that. So
awesome, man. Well, listen, do you have anything you want to shout out? Anything you got coming up? And obviously, for people,
I will say this.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I will say this. One of the things I'm really, COVID has prolonged, delayed this. It would have been a lot cooler, last year and this year be able to do it. But the one thing I've been in talks with, I train with Phil DeRue. He's the strength and conditioning coach over down at top team down in Florida.
Yeah.
I worked out with him and met some of the I know some of the fighters there, and I know Calvin and Rob Font up here.
Yep. So
one of the main things I want to do is, kind of trade promotion for fight camp training.
Interesting.
So that's one of my biggest things. That's like all I care about right now is getting that going. I want to be able to dip my toe into like the MMA world, and just in the sense that I want to be able to train and then promote and support real fighters, like people who are the day-to-day grind, people who are putting it all on the line. So that's what I want to do for content. It's like my next bridge I want to go to is training, going down. Like even Wonder Boy, I was supposed to go back. I literally trained with him the day, like the week we found out about COVID closing down. So it was that week. So I trained with him and then haven't been back. But he's like, you can come down whenever you want. So like fight camps, going down and training with guys and sparring with their guys. And getting like more sparring footage like that and training with guys during MMA camps, getting my butt beat and learning in the process, and then being a part of as many fighters as I can in terms of because there's a lot of fighters that I know that I want to do this with, especially who are UFC up and coming, and also guys who have bigger names. And I'm somebody who can not just go and talk to you, but I can put the gloves on and spar with you. So for me, I'm like, I want to dip more into the fighter world and then show more people about, highlight their journey. And I think I can make some really cool content with that.
I think that's awesome, man.
Be on the lookout for that.
Yes, guys, go check that out. Make sure you subscribe to FaZe Sensei. All the socials are actually, no, they're not. What are the other socials?
Instagram, FaZe Sensei. Twitter's FaZe_Sensei. TikTok is FaZe Sensei Clean. I've been trying to post on there, so have some fun.
FaZe Sensei, ladies and gentlemen. As we leave off, I want you to give the people there. People are always asking me what "oos" means, and I don't feel like it's my place to explain that.
Yeah.
Obviously, that is yours. I know obviously what it generally means, but go ahead. What is "oos" and why is it a term that we use here?
Oos in Japanese, we actually use it as like an aya or like a kia when they aya loud, but mainly in our Japanese martial arts tradition, we use it as greeting.
Okay, yeah.
So oos is like a hello, goodbye.
Good morning, yeah.
It's type of like nod. Like we use it all the time. Like me, Tommy, a bunch of all the FaZe guys, to say oos when I say hello, when I'm leaving, when you say oh my god when someone was sick, like you know what I mean. But it's a sign of endearment or a sign of respect and greeting.
Okay. So
that's why I always do it like in the beginning or like when I'm bowing.
Gotcha.
That's what we use oos as.
Well, there it is, folks. FaZe Sensei, he has been our sensei here in this YouTube boxing scene for a very long time. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. And from all of us, again, this is just phase one of I think, your journey, and I love the new stuff you're doing. But from all of us, we appreciate you. I think that we wouldn't be in this. I don't think I would be on YouTube doing what I'm doing without you. So we'll all give you the oos this time. So oos, appreciate that.
Oos.
Thanks, man.
So for me, it was like, I would love to be a part of something like FaZe Clan because their fan base and their interaction would be something good for me because it's a part of my passion and what I care about.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like my whole,
Hold on, FaZe. I can hear your voice snoring.
Can you hear him? I knew it. I knew what would happen.
He got louder. That's why he got louder.
Hold on a second. This is hilarious.
The man started. Yo, you got to get something bigger. The remote ain't happening. You got to throw that YouTube play button.
I'm recording a video, and we started. You were doing good, and then we started hearing you snoring like crazy.
I was snoring?
Yes.
Yo, that means I was out. When I snore, I'm done. Like you can have like, man, I'm telling you, you can have a party. Like, you can have a lot of people here. You have the chips, you have the music banging. You can play, like, old school Renegade Dawn from 2003. I'm telling you. And you can have that music blast.
Come in the video for a second.
No, I can't. Like, I'm telling you.
This is what?
When I'm sleeping.
What's up, man? What's up,
What
man?
am I looking at? Where's the camera?
How you doing, man?
Out,
yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
When I'm sleeping and I snore, done. You can draw on my face, get the whipped cream on my hand, put the feather on my face, boom. Over.
All right. No, go be quiet over there. Oh, my goodness. Oh, that was great.
That's the
I had a
funniest
feeling.
thing
I was
I've
like,
ever
I kind of
seen.
heard it because I have my headphones in. I'm like, I don't know if I can hear it.